Alan Carter stared at the data stream on his monitor. For 3 days, the same pattern had appeared. This was not random space noise. This was a message. "Lisa, come look at this," he called across the monitoring room of Jupiter Station 6. Lisa. Morgan pushed away from her desk and glided across the low-gravity chamber. Her dark hair was tied back in a simple ponytail, and tired eyes suggested she'd been working for too many hours straight. "What did you find?" she asked, leaning over his shoulder. "The signal from Sector 87. It repeats every 9 hours and 14 minutes. Exactly the same each time." Lisa's eyes widened. "You think it's artificial?" "I know it is," Alan said. "No natural phenomenon repeats with that kind of precision." They had been tracking unusual radio bursts from a distant star system for weeks. Most of their colleagues had dismissed it as typical stellar activity, but Alan had insisted on continuing observation. Now his persistence was paying off. "We need to tell Director Powell," Lisa said, her voice dropping to a whisper despite them being alone in the room. 3 hours later, the station's conference room was packed. Director Eric Powell sat at the head of the table while Alan and Lisa presented their findings. "The signal contains mathematical sequences that couldn't occur naturally," Alan explained, pointing to the screen behind him. "And we've isolated what appears to be a repeating message embedded within." "How far away is the source?" asked Dr. Frank Williams, the station's senior astronomer. "Approximately 40 light-years," Lisa answered. "From a G-type star in the Lyra constellation. We've named the system Zilara for tracking purposes." Director Powell leaned forward. "And you're confident this is a communication attempt?" Alan nodded firmly. "Yes, sir. And based on our analysis, it's a distress call." The room fell silent. "How can you be sure it's a distress call?" asked Olivia Wright, their xenolinguistics specialist. Lisa tapped on her tablet and new data appeared on the main screen. The message contains repeated patterns that match distress signal structures used in human communications. There are acceleration markers, urgency indicators, and... She paused. "It describes what appears to be an environmental disaster." "You've decoded it?" Director Powell asked, surprise evident in his voice. "Partially," Alan replied. "The mathematical foundation is universal. Once we recognize the base 8 numerical system they're using, certain patterns became clear. We believe they're describing atmospheric degradation and massive climate destabilization." Olivia moved to the screen, studying the decoded sections. "This isn't just a general broadcast, they're specifically asking for help." "From whom?" Frank asked. "They can't possibly know we exist." "They don't," Lisa said quietly. "They're sending this message in all directions. It's a bottle thrown into the cosmic ocean." Director Powell stood up and paced the room slowly. "If you're right, this is the first confirmed contact with an intelligent alien species. And they're dying. What do we do?" Olivia asked the question everyone was thinking. "We tell Earth," Powell decided, "immediately." Within days, the United Nations Security Council called an emergency session. Representatives from every nation gathered to hear the evidence and debate humanity's response. "We should just send a message back," suggested the Russian ambassador. "Share our knowledge about environmental restoration. By the time they receive our message and implement any solutions, it could be too late," countered the Chinese representative. "Their message took 40 years to reach us." The debate continued for hours until the Houston Space Center, buzzed with activity day and night. 6 months had passed since the discovery of the alien distress call, and now humanity was preparing its response. The USS Horizon, Earth's most advanced spacecraft, stood tall in the launch bay. It was designed for deep space exploration but had never been meant to travel to another star. Jack Nelson walked through the busy hallways, nodding at crew members as he passed. As the newly appointed captain of the Horizon, he carried the weight of humanity's first interstellar mission on his shoulders. "Captain," called a voice behind him. Jack turned to see Sam Phillips, the mission's lead engineer, jogging to catch up. "The FTL drive upgrades are complete," Sam said, falling into step beside him. "We've run 3 simulations. If everything works as planned, We can reach Isolara in 15 months instead of 40 years. Jack nodded. That's still cutting it. Close, their message is already 40 years old. It's the best we can do, Sam replied. The technology was theoretical before this mission. We're lucky to have it working at all. They entered the main briefing room where the rest of the command team waited. Olivia Wright, the mission's xenobiologist, was reviewing alien language. Patterns on her tablet. Daniel Harris, selected as Earth's ambassador to Zilara, was discussing diplomatic protocols with communications officer Heather Collins. Let's get started, Jack announced, taking his place at the head of the table. Launch is in 3 days. I need status reports from all departments. One by one, the team leaders provided updates. Medical supplies were loaded. Environmental restoration equipment was secured. The ship's AI systems were fully operational. Defensive systems, quietly included despite the mission's peaceful intent, were tested and ready. What about crew morale? Jack asked, looking at his second-in-command, Peter Grant. Peter shrugged. Mixed. Everyone understands the importance of what we're doing, but many are nervous about being the first humans to leave our solar system. Plus, we're heading into an unknown situation. We're all nervous, Olivia admitted. We don't know if we'll arrive in time to help. We don't know if our solutions will work for their world. We don't even know what they look like. Master Order, Harris leaned forward. That's why our approach must be careful and respectful. We're guests, not saviors. Jack nodded in agreement. We represent the best of humanity on this mission. Let's make sure we act like it. 3 days later, thousands gathered to watch the HFY Horizon launch. Millions more watched on screens around the world. The crew of 120 stood at attention as world leaders gave speeches about hope, courage, and humanity's place in the universe. Lisa Morgan, who had helped discover the original signal, had been selected as part of the communications team. She stood beside her station as the final countdown began. 10, 9, 8. Alan Carter watched from mission control, proud that his discovery had led to this moment. 7, 6, 5. On the bridge, Jack Nelson took his seat and prepared for humanity's greatest journey. 4, 3, 2. Ambassador Harris thought about the words he would say when meeting the first alien civilization known to mankind. 1. With a roar that could be heard for miles, the USS Horizon lifted off. Its powerful engines pushed against Earth's gravity until the massive ship broke free and accelerated toward the stars. As it cleared the atmosphere, secondary systems engaged, propelling it faster than any human vessel had ever traveled before. Inside the ship, the crew settled in for their long journey. Some looked back at the shrinking blue marble that was Earth. Others focused on their duties, checking systems and monitoring the ship's progress. Sam Phillips worked with his engineering team to fine-tune the experimental FTL drive. In 15 days, once they passed Mars orbit, they would attempt humanity's first faster-than-light jump. In her quarters, Olivia Wright studied the partial translations of the Zilaran message, trying to understand more about the civilization they were rushing to save. And in his private cabin, Jack Nelson recorded his first captain's log. Day 1 of Operation Outstretched Hand. We carry with us the hopes of our world and the future of another. The Zilarans sent a desperate call into the darkness. They will soon learn that humanity answers such calls not with words alone, but with action. Rickon Ambassador rose to speak. Throughout human history, we have reached out to help others in need. When disaster strikes, we don't just send good wishes, we send rescue teams. We don't just offer advice, we provide aid. This may be an alien civilization, but they are intelligent beings asking for help. I propose we do what humanity has always done at its best, we go to them. The room erupted in discussion, but the idea took hold. Within weeks, plans were drawn for a mission unlike any before. Operation Outstretched Hand. Humanity would answer the call not just with words, but with action. The aliens had sent a distress call, but they weren't ready for humanity's reply. 3 months into their journey, the USS Horizon moved through space faster than any human had ever traveled before. The experimental FTL drive hummed steadily, bending the fabric of space around the ship. Stars blurred past the observation windows, As the crew settled into their new routine, Eric Powell, the ship's chief engineer, spent most of his days in the engine room. The FTL drive was his responsibility, and he treated it with a mix of pride and caution. Right now he was making adjustments to improve efficiency. "How's it looking?" Sam Phillips asked as he entered the engine room. Eric wiped sweat from his forehead. "Better than expected. We're running at 94% efficiency. If we can push it to 97%, we might shave a month off our arrival time." "That could make all the difference," Sam said. "Every day counts for the Zalarans." Elsewhere on the ship, Heather Collins sat in the communications lab surrounded by screens displaying alien signal patterns. She had been studying the Zelaran language for months now, trying to build a basic translation system before they arrived. "Computer, run comparison analysis between sequence A7 and Earth languages," she commanded. The AI responded in a calm voice. "Analysis complete. Zelaran communication shows structural similarities to agglutinative languages like Finnish and Turkish, with tonal elements similar to Mandarin Chinese." Heather nodded. This matched her own findings. The Zelaran language was complex but followed logical patterns. With each passing day, she understood more of their distress message. The picture it painted was increasingly grim. On the Recreation, deck crew members were gathering for their weekly movie night. These social events had become essential for maintaining morale during the long journey. Captain Jack Nelson made a point of attending whenever possible. "What's showing tonight?" he asked, taking a seat next to Peter Grant. "An old classic." "The Day the Earth Stood Still," Peter replied with a small smile. "Seemed appropriate." Jack chuckled. "Let's hope our first contact goes better than that." As the movie played, Jack observed his crew. They had become a tight-knit community over the past months, united by their historic mission. Some had left families behind. Others had given up promising careers. All had volunteered knowing they might never return to Earth. Later that night, Jack walked the quiet corridors of the ship. He often did this during the night shift, checking on systems and crew alike. As he passed the observation lounge, he noticed Ambassador Harris staring out at the stars. "Trouble sleeping?" Jack asked, joining him at the window. Daniel Harris shook his head. "Just thinking. In all our history, we've wondered if we're alone in the universe. Now we know we're not, and our first meeting with another intelligent species will be in the midst of their global disaster." "Not the ideal first impression," Jack agreed. "I've been studying the cultural information Heather has extracted from their messages," Daniel continued. "They seem to have a highly structured society, very different from our own. I worry about how they'll perceive us." Jack considered this. "We come as helpers, not conquerors. Sometimes help can feel like conquest to those receiving it," Daniel replied, "especially if they didn't expect physical visitors." Their conversation was interrupted by an alarm. Red lights flashed throughout the ship. "Captain, to the bridge," came the urgent announcement over the comms. Jack and Daniel raced to the bridge where Officer Ryan Johnson was monitoring the sensors. "What's happening?" Jack demanded. "We've detected a massive energy disturbance ahead," Ryan reported. "Some kind of spatial anomaly. It wasn't on any of our charts." The main screen showed a swirling mass of energy directly in their path. The ship's AI calculated it to be over 500,000 miles wide. "Can we go around it?" Jack asked. Sam checked the navigation systems. "Not without adding 3 months to our journey." The USS Horizon emerged from the spatial anomaly with a violent shudder. Warning lights flashed across the bridge as systems reset themselves. Captain Jack Nelson gripped his chair and looked around at his crew. "Damage report," he ordered, his voice steady despite the rough passage. "Minor damage to the outer hull," reported Sam Phillips. "FTL drive is offline but repairable. Life support systems are fully functional." Jack nodded. "And our position?" Heather Collins checked her navigation screen, then gasped. "Sir, we're in the Zelaran system. The anomaly somehow pushed us ahead. We're here." A stunned silence fell over the bridge. They had expected another 8 months of travel, but the strange space phenomenon had delivered them directly to their destination. Put it on screen, Jack ordered. The main view screen activated, showing a blue-green planet orbiting a yellow star. Clouds swirled across its surface, but even from a distance they could see large brown patches spreading across what should have been verdant continents. "It's beautiful," whispered Olivia Wright, who had rushed to the bridge when she heard they had arrived, but clearly suffering. "Any signs of artificial structures or technology?" Jack asked. Ryan Johnson checked the sensor readings. "Yes, sir. We're detecting cities, mostly concentrated on the northern continent. There's also a network of satellites in orbit. Simple technology compared to ours, but definitely the mark of an advanced civilization." "Are they detecting us?" Ambassador Harris asked, straightening his uniform. "They must be," Sam replied. "We're not exactly hiding." Jack made his decision. "Heather, send the first contact message we prepared. Let them know we're here to help, just as we said in all our practice runs." Heather nodded and began broadcasting. The carefully crafted message in what they believed was the Zalaran language. Minutes passed with no response. The crew grew restless. "Maybe our translation is wrong," Olivia suggested. Just then, the communications panel lit up. "We're receiving a transmission," Heather announced. It's not quite what we expected." She put it on audio. A series of high-pitched clicks and whistles filled the bridge, followed by what sounded like words being formed by someone who had never spoken before. "We receive your signal," the halting voice said. "Who are you? How did you come here?" Heather looked at Jack. "Their translation is as rough as ours, but they're trying." Jack stepped forward. "This is Captain Jack Nelson of the USS Horizon from planet Earth. We received your distress call and have come to offer assistance to your world." Another long pause followed. When the response came, it held a note of confusion. "Distress call. Sent 40 cycles ago. Expected. Knowledge. Not physical presence. No species has faster than light travel." Ambassador Harris moved beside Jack. "May I?" When Jack nodded, Harris addressed the Zellerans. "I am Ambassador Daniel Harris. We developed this technology specifically to reach you in time. We come in peace and friendship with knowledge and resources to help address your environmental crisis." The longest silence yet followed. When the response finally came, it held a new emotion. Fear. "You crossed stars. For strangers? Why? What would you want from us?" Maria Scott, the cultural attaché, whispered to Jack. "They don't understand altruism between species. Their message suggests a highly competitive evolutionary history." Jack considered his next words carefully. "We want nothing from you except the opportunity to help. Humanity believes all intelligent life has value. Your survival matters to us." The response was immediate this time. "Request. Meeting. Will. Send coordinates. Come. Unarmed." As the transmission ended, the bridge crew exchanged looks. "Well," said Jack with a small smile, "we got their attention." "They're scared," Olivia noted, "and confused by our response." "Of course they are," Ambassador Harris replied. "They sent a bottle into the cosmic ocean hoping for knowledge to wash back. Instead, a ship full of aliens arrived on their doorstep." Jack looked at the planet on the view screen again. "Prepare a shuttle. Ambassador Harris, Dr. Wright, Officer Johnson, and I will make the first contact. The rest of you start analyzing the environmental data. We came here to save a world. Let's get to work." "And going through?" Eric Powell, who had rushed up from engineering, studied the readings. "The FTL drive should handle it, but I've never seen anything like this. There's no way to know for certain." Jack looked at the swirling anomaly ahead, then at the determined faces of his crew. The Zalarans were waiting, even if they didn't know it yet. "Prepare to proceed," he ordered. "Take us through." The shuttle descended through the orange-tinted atmosphere of Zalara. Captain Jack Nelson watched through the viewport as the alien landscape came into view. Vast cities spread across the northern continent, their buildings tall and thin like termite mounds. Between them, brown patches of dying vegetation were spreading like a disease. "The air quality readings are worse than we expected," said Olivia Wright, studying her handheld scanner. "The concentrations of toxic compounds are nearly double what they reported in their message." Ambassador Harris nodded grimly. "Their situation has deteriorated in the 40 years since they sent their call." The shuttle touched down on a flat platform near what appeared to be a government complex. A group of aliens waited nearby, surrounded by what were clearly security forces holding weapons. "Remember," Jack said to his team, "no sudden movements. Follow the ambassador's lead." They stepped out of the shuttle into the alien air. Their environmental suits protected them from the toxins, but Jack could feel the heat even through the protective layers. The gravity was slightly stronger than Earth's, making each step require extra effort. The Zellerans were not what anyone had expected. Standing about 5 feet tall, they had 6 limbs, 4 for walking and 2 with delicate 3-fingered hands. Their bodies were covered in a shell-like exoskeleton that shimmered with iridescent colors. Most striking were their eyes. 3 of them, arranged in a triangle on their oval heads, each a different color. One Zellaran stepped forward. Its shell was decorated with complex patterns that the humans would later learn indicated high rank. "I am High Counselor Zix Taral," it said, through a translation device. The voice sounded mechanical but clear. "You claim to come from a distant world to help us. Why would you do this?" Ambassador Harris bowed slightly. "High Counselor, I am Daniel Harris, representative of Earth. When we received your distress call, our people decided we could not simply send information when lives were at stake. It is our way to help those in need, regardless of differences." The 3 eyes of Zixtaral blinked in an unsynchronized pattern. "Your way is strange to us. In our history, no species helps another without seeking advantage. Yet you sent a distress call to the stars," Jack pointed out. "We sought knowledge, not physical intervention," Zixtaral replied. "Your presence here is unsettling." Before the conversation could continue, a younger Zellaran rushed toward the group. Security forces moved to intercept it, but Zixtaral raised a limb to let it pass. "The southern region has collapsed," the newcomer reported urgently. "The protective dome failed. 10,000 are dead." The humans exchanged glances. Olivia stepped forward. "High Counselor, I am Dr. Olivia Wright, a specialist in environmental science. We brought technology that might help with exactly this kind of emergency. If you'll allow us, we can demonstrate immediately." Zixtaral's limbs moved in what seemed like agitation. "You claim you can stop what our best minds could not?" "Not alone," Olivia said carefully. "But together, perhaps. We have faced similar challenges on our world." After a moment of consideration, Zixtaral made a decision. "You may show us this technology, but under guard." Within hours, a human technical team was deployed to the southern region. Karen White, the medical officer, discovered that the Zellarans were suffering from respiratory diseases caused by the toxic air. Ryan Johnson noticed that security forces were watching their every move, some with open hostility. Back at the government complex, Ambassador Harris and Captain Nelson were shown data about the planet's condition. The situation was dire. Mining operations generations ago had released compounds that were destroying the atmospheric balance. Without intervention, the planet would be uninhabitable within 5 years. "Your people waited too long to address this," Jack said as gently as possible. "Our council was divided," Zixtaral admitted. "Many believed the problem would resolve naturally. Others feared the changes needed would disrupt our society." As night fell on their first day on Zollara, Jack received a troubling message from the horizon. Security Officer Johnson had detected unusual movements around their landing site. Equipment had gone missing, and communication with one of their ground teams had suddenly cut off. Dawn broke over the alien landscape, casting long shadows from the strange angular buildings. Sam Phillips had been working through the night in a makeshift lab provided by the Zellarans. His eyes were tired, but he refused to stop. The missing human team included 2 of his close friends. "I think I've got something," he said to Olivia, Wright, who was analyzing soil samples nearby. She moved to his workstation where a complex device hummed softly. What is it? I've adapted our atmospheric scrubbers to Zelaran technology, Sam explained. Their biofilters are actually more advanced than ours in some ways, but they never considered combining them with our mineral-based filtration systems. Olivia studied the readings on his screen. This could work on a small scale, but can we expand it quickly enough to make a difference? With Zelaran help, yes, Sam replied, but we need them to trust us first. At that moment, a young Zelaran entered the lab. Unlike most of its kind, this one moved with open curiosity rather than suspicion toward the humans. I am Kivzoral, it introduced itself. The High Council assigned me to assist you. Sam noticed that Kivzoral's shell was less colorful than most, possibly indicating youth or lower rank. We're working on combining our technologies to clean your atmosphere. Kivzoral moved closer, its 3 eyes blinking in sequence. May I see? For the next hour, Sam explained the principles behind the human technology. To his surprise, Kivzoral grasped the concepts quickly and began suggesting improvements based on Zelaran science. Your people understand biological systems better than we do, Sam admitted. This hybrid approach might be more effective than either of our original technologies. Meanwhile, Captain Jack Nelson and Officer Ryan Johnson were preparing a search team for the missing humans. High Counselor Zix Terrell had provided maps of the region where contact had been lost. We believe Mexteran's followers took your people to the eastern mining districts, Zix Terrell explained. It is a stronghold for those who oppose outside influence. Why would they target our team specifically? Jack asked. Your team was setting up atmospheric sensors, Zix Terrell replied. Mexteran's group has been claiming these exact regions were still safe. Your data would prove them wrong. Ryan checked his equipment. We're ready to move out, Captain. Remember, this is a rescue mission, not combat, Jack emphasized. We need to show all Zelarans that we're here to help, not fight. As the rescue team departed, Ambassador Harris was meeting with the full Zelaran Council. Unlike High Counselor Zix Terrell, many members openly displayed their distrust. Your species traveled 40 light-years because of a message that wasn't even directed at you specifically, one council member stated. This defies logical explanation. Harris chose his words carefully. In our history, we've learned that helping others strengthens us all. When ships at sea sent distress signals in our past, other ships would change course to rescue them, even at great personal risk. But they were the same species, another counselor objected. To us, intelligence and the capacity for suffering matter more than physical form, Harris explained. We believe all thinking beings have value. This concept seemed to confuse many of the counselors, but Harris noticed a few showing signs that might indicate thoughtful consideration. Back at the lab, Sam's work with Kivzoral was bearing fruit. They had successfully created a working prototype of the hybrid air scrubber. When tested on a sample of toxic air, it cleaned the pollutants significantly faster than either human or Zelaran technology alone. We need to show this to the council, Kivzoral said excitedly. First, we should test it on a larger scale, Sam suggested. Suddenly, alarms blared throughout the complex. A Zelaran guard rushed into the lab. The radical faction has attacked one of your atmospheric stations. They're using some kind of human technology as a weapon. Sam's blood ran cold. They're using our equipment? How? The missing team, Olivia, realized. They must have been forced to help modify our technology. Kivzoral's body language showed clear distress. If Mexaduran has weaponized your technology, many will see this as proof that humans are dangerous. We need to stop them, Sam said firmly. And we need to do it together. This hybrid scrubber proves what our peoples can accomplish when we work as one. Kivzoral hesitated only briefly before nodding. I will help you. Not all Zelarans fear change. Some of us have been waiting for it. Ambassador, Jack said quietly, I think not all Zelarans welcome our help. Zix Tarl's 3 eyes focused on Jack. There are those who see your arrival not as salvation, but as the beginning of conquest. They are led by Mexduran, who believes no species crosses the stars merely to help. We need to find our missing team, Jack insisted. Yes, agreed Zix Tarl. Before Mexteran uses your technology against us all. The eastern mining district was covered in a thick, toxic fog. Captain Jack Nelson and his rescue team moved carefully through the haze, their environmental suits the only thing protecting them from the deadly air. Beside them walked 4 Zalaran guards loyal to the High Council. The signal from our missing team's trackers is coming from that structure, Ryan Johnson said, pointing to a large dome-shaped building ahead. Jack studied the building through his helmet visor. Any signs of guards or defenses? None that our scanners can detect, Ryan replied. But this fog could be hiding anything. The team approached cautiously. When they reached the entrance, they found it unguarded, but sealed. One of the Zelaran guards stepped forward and placed its hand on a control panel. Nothing happened. They've changed the access codes, the guard said. Jack considered their options. Can we cut through? Before anyone could answer, the door suddenly slid open. Standing in the entrance was a human woman in a torn environmental suit. Lisa Morgan, the communications specialist from the missing team. Captain, she exclaimed, you need to leave immediately. It's a trap. Too late. From all sides, armed Zelarans emerged from the fog. Their weapons were strange hybrids of Zelaran design and human technology. At their center stood a Zelaran with elaborate red markings on its shell. I am Mexteran, it announced. You humans claim to come in peace, yet bring weapons of war. We brought no weapons, Jack replied firmly. Only tools to heal your world. Mexteran made a sound that might have been laughter. Tools that can be turned into weapons, as we have proven. Your technology will serve Zalara, but not as you intended. Back at the main Zalaran city, alarms continued to sound. Reports came in of attacks on multiple environmental stations. Ambassador Harris and High Counselor Zixtaral watched the chaos unfold on monitoring screens. This violence must stop, Zixtaral said. Mexteran doesn't understand what's at stake. He understands perfectly, Harris replied. He's using fear to gain power. It's a tactic we've seen on Earth as well. A message came through from the USS Horizon. Commander Heather Collins appeared on screen, her expression serious. Ambassador, we've detected multiple launches from the planet's surface. Missiles are heading toward our atmospheric repair stations. Can you stop them? Harris asked urgently. Heather hesitated. We have defensive capabilities, but using them might confirm the Radicals' claims about our hostile intentions. Harris turned to Zixtaral. High Counselor, this is your world. What would you have us do? Zixtaral's 3 eyes blinked rapidly, and what Harris had learned indicated deep thought. If those stations are destroyed, millions more will die when the next atmospheric collapse occurs. You must defend them. Heather received the order and nodded grimly. Understood. Deploying defensive measures. On the screens, they watched as the USS Horizon fired precisely calibrated energy beams. The missiles exploded harmlessly in the upper atmosphere. No Zelaran crafts or cities were targeted. Meanwhile, Sam Phillips and Kiv Zoral had completed a larger version of their hybrid air scrubber. They had installed it in one of the worst affected areas of the city and activated it. The effects were immediate and visible. The toxic brown haze began to clear, revealing blue sky above. It works, Kiv Zoral exclaimed, all 3 eyes wide with excitement. Sam checked the readings. Better than we hoped. The purification rate is 300% faster than either of our original technologies. Olivia Wright, who had been monitoring the health of nearby Zelarans, approached with her scanner. The respiratory distress symptoms are already decreasing in the local population. As word spread of the successful air purification, crowds of Zelarans gathered to see the clear patch of sky. Many had never seen it so blue. Lisa Morgan, having been brought back to the city with the other rescued team members, had an idea. We need to show everyone what's happening, not just here but across the planet. She contacted Heather on the Horizon. Can you broadcast images from your orbit to all Zelaran communication devices? I think so, Heather replied. Their satellite network is simple but functional. Within minutes, every Zelleran communication device displayed the same image, their planet from orbit, showing both the damaged areas and the growing patch of clean atmosphere where the human Zelleran technology was working. 1 month after the humans' arrival on Zellara, the planet looked different. Patches of blue sky had spread across the northern continent. In the central plaza of the main city, Captain Jack Nelson stood with High Counselor Zix Tarl, watching Zellaran children play in the clean air for the first time in their lives. "I never thought I would see this day," Zix Tarl said, all 3 eyes focused on the children. "My own offspring were born into a world of poison and fear. Now they will know something better." Jack smiled. "The work is just beginning. It will take years to fully restore your atmosphere, but now we know it can be done," Zix Tarl replied. "Thanks to your people's unexpected reply to our distress call." Nearby, Sam Phillips and Kiev Zoral were training a group of Zelleran engineers to maintain the hybrid air scrubbers. Over 50 of the devices had been built and placed in strategic locations around the planet. Each day, the area of clean air grew larger. "Your understanding of biological systems is remarkable," Sam told the engineers. "Once we leave, you'll be able to improve these systems even further." "Leave?" Kiev Zoral asked, sounding surprised. "You're not staying?" Sam shook his head. "Our mission was to help, not to stay. Earth is our home, just as Zellara is yours." This news spread quickly through the Zellaran population. Many had assumed the humans planned to colonize their world. The knowledge that they would leave once their help was complete changed many minds, including some who had followed Mexis Duran. Speaking of Mexis Duran, the radical leader had been captured after his followers abandoned him. Now he sat in a chamber with Ambassador Harris and the full Zellaran Council. "You will be judged for your actions," Zix Tarl told him. "But in the spirit of cooperation we have learned from the humans, we offer you a choice: punishment or redemption, through service to help rebuild what you tried to destroy." Mex Duran's 3 eyes blinked in surprise. "You would allow me to make amends? Even after I stole your technology and threatened your people?" "It was never our technology," Harris corrected, gently. "Knowledge belongs to all who can use it wisely. That is another principle of our people." Mex Duran lowered his head, and what the humans had learned was a gesture of deep thought. "I will choose service," he finally said. "Perhaps I too have something to learn from your species." On the final day before the USS Horizon's scheduled departure, a ceremony was held in the central plaza. All available humans attended, along with thousands of Zellerans. Captain Jack Nelson and High Counselor Zix Tarl signed a formal alliance between their worlds. This agreement establishes ongoing communication and exchange of knowledge between Earth and Zellara, Zix Tarl announced to the crowd. "A small team of humans will remain to continue helping with our environmental restoration, while a group of Zellaran scientists will travel to Earth to learn and to teach." Olivia Wright, who had chosen to stay behind with a small scientific team, stood beside Karen White. "I never expected to find a second home among the stars," she said. "None of us did," Karen replied. "But that's humanity for you. We can't help but connect, wherever we go." As Jack prepared to board the shuttle that would return him to the horizon, Kiev Zoral approached with a gift. It was a crystal containing a perfect miniature model of both Earth and Zellara, orbiting a tiny star. To remember that distance means nothing when hearts and minds are connected, Kiev Zoral explained. Jack accepted the gift with a bow. "We came because you called. We stayed because you needed us. And we leave as friends because that's what humanity does best. We build bridges across any distance." Later, as the USS Horizon broke orbit and set course for Earth, Jack recorded his final captain's log about Zellara. The aliens sent a distress call into the darkness of space, hoping only for advice or knowledge in return. They weren't ready for humanity's reply, not just words but action, not just technology but compassion, not just help, but friendship. Perhaps that's humanity's greatest strength. We don't just hear calls for help, we answer them, wherever they come from. And in doing so, we find not just those we can save, but those who can teach us, challenge us, and help us grow. The universe is vast and full of voices. This was just the first call we answered. It won't be the last. A voice message accompanied the image, translated into the Zillaran language. This is what cooperation can achieve. Together, we can heal your world. In the Eastern Mining District, Mex Duran watched the broadcast with his prisoners. For the first time, doubt showed in his posture. Jack Nelson noticed the change. "It's not too late to work together," he said quietly. "Isn't saving your world worth setting aside fear?"